Got it.
Okay. Hello.
We've just random talk about
Hello.
meaningless nothing that we've given some value to. Getting a bit of a laugh out of that. But anyway, I just got to move my thing. So we're on the last 5 lessons. And so last week we did the mantra on your beads, Tina, and Anna's beads at the end.
Lovely.
That was kind of cool. You guys were all good with that? Francois, the romantic lens on, very... You need to get like a wipe thing, a wet wipe, and just do your lens on your camera because it's all fuzzy. Dark and fuzzy. That's Francois. There you go. That's it. That's not much better. Anyway, Barry.
Missed the spot.
Missed the spot. All right. So how was Europe, Bernadette? Are you home now for good? You're sideways. Oh, there she goes. No. Can you hear us, Bernadette?
Oh, sorry. Yes, it was intense.
Intense. That's what I heard. Intense. Good. You have to have those encounters, you know, you have to have those things. You know, one of the things I used to enjoy doing, and at the same time I was kind of like slightly terrified of doing, years ago when I was in Byron Bay sitting with Ted, right? I would sit with him for like a year, and then I would go and visit my parents or something. And it was one of those adventures that you don't realize because your mind's changed somewhat and you're going back out into the world where you're completely bombarded by things that worldly people do for entertainment and conversation and everything. It's a nightmare. It really shows you where you're at. It shows you how far your transformation has come with how different you are from everybody else. And also it shows you like what it is you've left behind and what you're still reacting to. Like there's a whole bombardment of, like it should be intense, you know. That's really cool. I always used to be incredibly grateful to get back to Byron Bay and just sit in the session room again and just shut up and listen to Ted, you know, and be like, oh, thank God. But it gave me really good references for where I was actually at rather than where I thought I was at, right? Because my spiritual mind, my ego mind that is studying the spiritual premises always likes to imagine that it's further ahead than where it's at because it's constantly right. Exactly. You see, you know what I'm talking about. And then you get out in the world, you know, no safety zone. It's like when you told me first, like months ago, 3 months, or how long you been gone? 2 or 3 months? When you said you're going to go to Europe and whatever and travel around, I'm like, fuck yeah, that'll be fun. Not fun as in seeing Europe, but fun as in seeing your own mind, you know. It's the best thing about having getting out of your comfort zone. That's what I love about it. And it's really helpful. So welcome
and
home.
Then he says, you know, it's interesting because when you're over there and then you're over there for a period of time, you know, you get out of your comfort zone and you start building somewhat a different comfort there. And then it says, okay, you need to move from here because you need to get back to your other routine here. And then you come back here and you can't find your place anywhere. Like I'm at the place now, I cannot find my place anywhere. Like I hate everything equally.
Terrific. That's really good. I love that you hate everything equally.
Yeah.
That's only the flip side of loving everything equally. but it's like you're underwater now and we're about to resuscitate you and you'll be able to love again. So anyway, cool. Let's carry on. We're up to lesson 361 to 365, which is the last lessons in the workbook. Any of you guys been through the workbook more than once? You've done these lessons before. So Tina has, Francois has, Bernadette has. All right, and the rest of you guys are all virgins. So these lessons, yeah, I did them a couple of times. I think I did it 2 years in a row. These lessons are much the same as what we did last week. All right, so last week we did the mantra style with the beads, which was just simply the repetitive mantra of nothing exists. And but we didn't step off from that into silence, not as a conscious group participation. We just stayed within the parameters of doing that mantra. In these lessons, there's a similar format where you're repeating. I haven't read it yet. From memory, I think it's I'm not a body, I'm free, I'm still as God created me. But we're repeating that slowly and purposefully in our minds over and over and over, keeping focus on it, keeping total focus on the conscious awareness of ourselves, repeating that. Does that make sense? You guys should have some sort of idea about that by now, right? And then what happens is at some point, if you've been doing these lessons properly, at some point you realize that as the observer of what you're doing, as the observer of what seems to be going on in your consciousness, in the repeating of those, of that mantra, of that idea, it kind of peters out. It kind of just stops because there's an awareness in your own mind that you're going to be entering into silence. And you don't really have there's not really a decision-making mechanism where you're saying, shall I repeat it one more time? Maybe just once more and then I'll stop. And, you're not really checking yourself anymore, hopefully. Hopefully you're just allowing your mind to do what it needs to do by now, right? And you'll find that you'll be repeating these things for like 5 or 10 minutes. And then it'll just sort of peter out. So in my mind, which is your mind, in my mind, I'm repeating this, I'm not a body, I'm free, I'm still as God created me, as in a mantra style fashion. And I find that as I become more and more the observer of what I'm doing, there's an indication or there's an awareness that the mind repeating it is repeating it from a place where the thought has already had its emergence. Does that make sense? It's like I have the thought back here somewhere, and this is a bad way to try and describe it, but it's like I have the thought back here somewhere, bring it into consciousness, and then consciously, it's like I'm reading off a teleprompter. You know what that is when they read the news and they have that screen and the newsman reads the thing? So it's almost like that. And you realize that you're not even the teleprompter and you're not the person reading it. It's just sort of occurring. You're just saying yes to it and you're just doing it in your own mind. And you're suddenly becoming aware that neither of those things is where you're at or what you are. And those things tend to just sort of fall away. So the repetition of the mantra, the repetition of the idea just automatically begins to become self-diminishing. And you find yourself just in a silent place. It's almost like you lose sight of it. Consciously, you lose sight of it. Anna, where are you now? Is this your house? All right. Anna's house. We're at Anna's house. Exciting.
Yep, I just got home.
Cool. 2405. We're coming to visit.
Sounds good. I have a big house.
Put the kettle on. We'll wait for you to get in and get in your comfy chair. So I'll read the preamble and then there are only 5 lessons, right? And they're all the same. So, which is a very short little one. Oh, this may not be the I'm not a body. Was that the last ones, Tim? Did we do those the last ones? No.
Yeah, the I'm not a body is earlier in these final lessons.
Oh, well, there we go. I've already done that bit. I'm repeating something again that's already over. We repeat again, a journey now over. All right, so we'll do these 5. Forget what I just said. Everything. Our final lessons will be left as free of words as possible. We use them, but at the beginning of our practicing, and only to remind us that we seek to go beyond them. Let us turn to him who leads the way and makes our footsteps sure. To him we leave these lessons, as to him we give our lives henceforth. For we would not return again to the belief in sin, which made the world seem ugly and unsafe, attacking and destroying, dangerous in all its ways and treacherous beyond the hope of trust and the escape of pain. His is the only way to find the peace that God has given us. It is his way that everyone must travel in the end, because it is this ending God himself appointed. In the dream of time, it seems to be far off, and yet in truth it is already here, already serving us as gracious guidance in the way to go. Let us together follow in this way that truth points out to us, and let us be the leaders of our many brothers who are seeking for the way, but find it not. And to this purpose, let us dedicate our minds, directing all our thoughts to serve the function of salvation. Unto us the aim is given to forgive the world. It is the goal that God has given us. It is his ending to the dream we seek and not our own. It is his ending to the dream we seek and not our own. For all that we forgive, we will not fail to recognize as part of God himself. For all that we forgive, we will not fail to recognize as part of God himself. And thus his memory is given back completely and complete. It is our function to remember him on earth, as it is given us to be his own completion in reality. So let us not forget our goal is shared, for it is that remembrance which contains the memory of God and points the way to him and to the heaven of his peace. And shall we not forgive our brother who can offer this to us? He is the way, the truth, and life that show the way to us. In him resides salvation, offered us through our forgiveness given unto him. We will not end this year without the gift our Father promised to his Holy Son. We are forgiven now, and we are saved from all the wrath we thought belonged to God and found it was a dream. We are restored to sanity, in which we understand that anger is insane, attack is mad, and vengeance merely foolish fantasy. We have been saved from wrath because we learned we were mistaken, nothing more than that. And is a father angry at his son because he failed to understand the truth? We come in honesty to him and say we did not understand and ask him to help us learn his lessons through the voice of his own teacher. Would he hurt his son, or would he rush to answer him and say, "This is my son, and all I have is his"? Be certain he will answer thus, for these are his own words to you. And more than that can no one ever have, for in these words is all there is and all that there will be throughout all time and eternity. Lesson 361 to 365, and you do these one day at a time. This holy instant would I give to you. Be you in charge, for I would follow you, certain that your direction gives me peace. If I need a word to help me, he will give it to me. If I need a thought, that will he also give. And if I need but stillness and a tranquil, open mind, these are the gifts I will receive of him. He is in charge of my request, and he will hear and answer me, because he speaks for God, my Father, and his Holy Son. So that lesson, that 361 to 365, that's the prompt for entering into stillness in these lessons. It's funny, I always thought it was the I'm not a body, I am free one, but we've already done that. Tina, can you read the final? We might as well do that as well. Just the next section. Your friend goes with you. And then we're up to the teacher's manual. And then I want
The epilogue? The epilogue?
Yeah, the epilogue.
All right.
Oh, we didn't get Annie. She must have not woke up.
No, not here yet.
She was going to try and wake up in time.
That's not easy. Here's the epilogue. This course is a beginning, not an end. Your friend goes with you. You are not alone. No one who calls on him can call in vain. Whatever troubles you, be certain that he has the answer and will gladly give it to you if you simply turn to him and ask it of him. He will not withhold all answers that you need for anything that seems to trouble you. He knows the way to solve all problems and resolve all doubts. His certainty is yours. You need but ask it of him, and it will be given you. You are as certain of arriving home as is the pathway of the sun laid down before it rises, after it has set, and in the half-lit hours in between. Indeed, your pathway is more certain still, for it cannot be possible to change the course of those whom God has called to him. Therefore, obey your will and follow him whom you accepted as your voice to speak of what you really want and really need. His is the voice for God and also yours. And thus he speaks of freedom and of truth. No more specific lessons are assigned, for there is no more need of them. Henceforth, hear but the voice for God and for yourself when you retire from the world to seek reality instead. He will direct your efforts, telling you exactly what to do, how to direct your mind, and when to come to him in silence, asking for his sure direction and his certain word. His is the word that God has given you. His is the word you chose to be your own. And now I place you in his hands to be his faithful follower, with him as guide through every difficulty and all pain that you may think is real. Nor will he give you pleasures that will pass away, for he gives only the eternal and the good. Let him prepare you further. He has earned your trust by speaking daily to you of your father and your brother and yourself. He will continue. Now you walk with him as certain as he is of where you go, as sure as he of how you should proceed, as confident as he is of the goal and of your safe arrival in the end. The end is certain, and the means as well. To this we say amen. You will be told exactly what God wills for you each time there is a choice to make. And he will speak for God and for yourself, thus making sure that hell will claim you not, and that each choice you make brings heaven nearer to your reach. And so we walk with him from this time on and turn to him for guidance and for peace and sure direction. Joy attends our way, for we go homeward to an open door, which God has held unclosed to welcome us. We trust our ways to him and say amen. In peace, we will continue in his way and trust all things to him. In confidence, we wait his answers as we ask his will in everything we do. He loves God's Son as we would love him, and he teaches us how to behold him through his eyes and love him as he does. You do not walk alone. God's angels hover near and all about. His love surrounds you, and of this be sure that I will never leave you comfortless. Ooh.
Good. So the practicing we have with our last lessons is entering into the silence, leaving our practice as wordless as possible. The idea of silent listening is the true purpose of meditation. Learning to listen for the voice for God, learning to listen for inner direction.